we all dream of winning the lottery, right? But what if it isn't just a game of pure chance? In this explainer, we're diving into a really fascinating question that comes from people who claim they've won and won big. Can you actually engineer a jackpot win? So let's unpack what these winners are saying and see if there's really a method to all this magic.
Just listen to how one of these jackpot winners talks about it. For them, it wasn't a shock. It was a confirmation. They call it a spiritual notification. And that idea is a thread we're going to see over and over. It totally reframes winning, not as some random lightning strike, but as the final expected step of a process you've already set in motion.
Okay, so this leads us into what some people call the winner's secret circle. We're about to look at a bunch of stories from people who claim that for them, winning isn't a one-off miracle. It's something they can repeat.
So, get this story from our sources. Someone claims they spent time just vividly imagining their coworker winning a ton of money, like picturing him jumping up and down totally ecstatic. Not even a week later, that same coworker hits $1 million scratch-off jackpot.
Then there's the person who set out to manifest $1 million and ended up winning £500,000. Now, don't get me wrong, that's absolutely life-changing. But for them, it was a huge lesson. The universe, it seems, takes you literally. You have to be incredibly specific.
This next one is just wild because of how precise it is. Someone decides they want $15,000. They write it down, get really detailed about it, and then a few days later, after a whole string of what they call coincidences, they hit a slot machine jackpot for $15,030. I mean, come on, that's almost too close for comfort.
So you see the pattern here, right? The crucial point these sources are making is that these wins aren't just random bits of good luck. According to this whole community of believers, these are the predictable outcomes of applying a specific system, a set of methods you can actually repeat.
All right, so if it is a system, then what's in the toolkit? Let's unpack the actual specific methods that these winners say they're using to get these results. I mean, just look at the level of detail here. This is not some vague wishing and hoping. It's a full-on daily ritual. One winner says their jackpot came from this exact 4-step process: a core affirmation recited for an hour every single day, reinforced with these special abundance frequency sounds, and then sealed with gratitude and praise.
And that ritual, that's just one tool in the kit. The full toolkit this community talks about is pretty diverse. You've got scripting, which is basically writing your goal out like it's already happened. Visualization can get so intense people will literally Photoshop a fake winning lottery ticket. Some people create adult coloring books filled with money affirmations. There are these deep mental techniques, like SATs, the state akin to sleep, where you program your subconscious right as you're drifting off. And then, maybe the weirdest one, detachment. The idea that after you do all this work, you have to completely let it go and forget about it.
But, and this is a big but, the sources warn you, this process has some serious pitfalls. This is a pretty unforgettable cautionary tale. Someone kept affirming how grateful they were for their new electric SUV. Well, the universe apparently delivered by getting them into a car accident, which meant they got a brand new electric SUV as a loaner. It's a stark reminder of a core rule in this system. Be careful what you wish for and be impossibly specific.
And that brings us to a really crucial point you hear over and over from these sources. The tools, they're only half the story. They argue that your internal state, your mindset, is what actually powers the whole thing. So let's explore what they mean by the mindset of a winner.
This, right here, is the absolute core of the winner's mindset. Most of us, we play the lottery with hope. It's a feeling of wanting something. But according to these winners, the state you have to be in is knowing. The feeling isn't, gosh, I really hope this happens. It's more like, oh, it's already done. I'm just waiting for the physical version to show up.
And there's this really powerful metaphor they use in the community to drive this point home. You can't be a little bit pregnant. It's impossible. And in the exact same way, from this point of view, your desire is either a done deal in your mind or it isn't. There is no middle ground, no kinda believing. You have to fully live from the end result.
Okay, so this all hangs on a core, kind of paradoxical idea, often credited to the mystic Neville Goddard. Signs follow, they do not precede. In other words, you can't just wait around for a little sign from the universe to help you believe you're going to win. According to this philosophy, that's backwards. You have to first achieve that unshakable inner state of already being a winner, and only then, they claim, will the outside world start to shift to prove you right.
All right, now we're getting into the really advanced stuff. This is where the whole thing shifts from being a simple technique to, well, what one source calls a science, an unfair advantage that you earn through study.
So one source introduces this idea of the hero's research. Think of it like this. The average person knows a couple of lottery stories, right? A believer, someone who's into this stuff, might know 100. But the hero, this is someone who has obsessively studied tens of thousands of cases of success. And why? The goal is to study so many wins that the pattern isn't a belief anymore. It becomes an absolute scientific certainty in your mind.
And they use this great analogy of a concurso. It's a super competitive public exam in Brazil. The person who studied for 6 months doesn't hope to beat the person who crammed for a week. They know they're better prepared. This isn't arrogance. It's what the source calls righteous pride, a certainty you earn because you've simply done more work.
And this brings our whole journey to its climax. After the tools, after the mindset, after all that hero's research, we get to the ultimate final philosophy of the whole system.
This powerful declaration really sets the stage for the system's final mantra. The idea here is that after a certain point, after enough research, enough inner work, success stops being a maybe. It becomes an inevitability, as reliable and as predictable as a law of physics.
And here it is, the ultimate belief, the Excalibur of this whole system, virtue. And in this case, virtue means the power to succeed, is seen as the natural byproduct of the hero's research. And once you've earned that virtue, once you've done the work, the hero just can't fail. The outcome is locked in.
So, let's end with this. The sources we've looked at today are presenting a pretty radical idea that belief isn't just some fuzzy feeling. It's a skill you can actually develop through focused study and practice. And that leaves us with a really provocative question. If that's true, what area of your own life could you research, study, and master to the point where you too could not falter?